What car are we in?
The Volvo.
Volvo what?
940.
With how many miles on?
228,000. 243 to be precise.
Very good. So this could be a video about how you go on holiday in a classic car.
You come back in a courtesy car.
But let's see.
Don't jinx it. Maybe, yeah.
Do you reckon you could do 60 before you get to that car in front?
Theoretically, yes. Practically not going to do it.
Do you actually like driving it?
I don't mind. It's a bit like heavy at times.
I might need to go to the toilet.
Yeah, that's fine. Once the train starts, we can go to the...
Oh, are there any toilets?
Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah, there's toilets in the train.
Situated on the side panels of the carriage. Safety instructions are also displayed on the side panels. Please read these instructions carefully. In the unlikely event of an emergency, follow the instructions broadcast over the public address system, shown on the overhead visual display panels, or given by crew members. Should an incident be detected in your carriage, the following alarm will sound.
If this is a video about how to go on holiday in a classic car, the trick is to just get in it and drive it. I don't know whether a Volvo 940 counts as a classic yet. You might say it's just a really high mileage daily, in which case this is a very unspecial video, but I think Volvo 940s are just about rare enough to be a classic. How's the ride in a Volvo, which is also on a train? Sublime. They're so soft. This one is equipped with, and it didn't come with, elephant's ball bag leather. Was it worth the £200? Most certainly, because the interior that came out of it was utterly foul. Apart from that, it's just well maintained. I changed the oil literally yesterday. It's had the cam belt done, the water pump done, all the belts done. When it's needed stuff like brakes and tyres, it's had them, but it's not by any stretch a sort of perfectly crisp example. It's just a leggy, nice thing to go on holiday in, fingers crossed. So come with us as we go to a place called Lorignac, which is near Bordeaux in France. And I'll show you how you go on holiday in a classic car, just like you used to see in the French textbooks. You're probably thinking, wow, you know, this car's doing brilliantly for an old thing with loads of miles on. It only costs £562. I bought it mostly because the plate says moth and I like moths, and it's not perfect, so I'm going to show you a few of the things that are broken or suboptimal. So you've got this Viennetta effect on the door cards, and it's because they used Save the Dolphins glue for a couple of years, and the door cards just rouged up and flopped off. It's got DAB and hands-free. You probably can't see it that well, but there's a little microphone plumbed into one of the blank switches there, and it's got a fairly brightly lit but decent DAB. It's got heated seats, which I added when I ripped the old interior out. The aircon doesn't work because someone hit a badger or a stone quite vigorously, ripped all the metal piping out from under it, so there's no aircon, which I may live to regret if France is hot. Apart from that, the clutch is right at the top of its travel, but has been since I bought it. It never slips, touch wood, but yep, the clutch has not very much travel left in it. The wing mirror's got a bit of damage on, the paint's not ideal, but really, you can't complain too much. I wish they made services like this in the UK.
Hey, fishy.
39 litres, 232 miles.
Why are there huge pylons here?
So, huge old bridge city. It's over the side.
Holding the bridge up. transpires when you slap the piss out of the Volvo and do 95 everywhere. The MPG is 24 miles to gallon, which is not very good, 358 miles to a tank. So if you want to go motoring in this sort of classic car, just watch the fuel, especially if the fuel gauge is broken, which mine is. It's called a cockmaster, you get them in French textbooks. Plenty of things are broken on this Volvo, nothing mission critical, but the aircon would be nice. I don't know, are you sure we're not allowed to just go on the hard shoulder with the hazards on?
Do not go on the hard shoulder. Ooh, radioactive.
Just having a few traffic wishes about how I might change this car. The first, you can see I had to change hands there to do the gears. I could have an automatic one. I wish it had a turbo for going up hills, because you can really feel it sweating when you point it uphill. Working aircon and also cruise control would be nice. But we're almost there now, he said, with 150 miles to go, but we're almost there. More traffic. So this is one way you can use a classic car to go on holiday in a foreign country. You can just sit in it in traffic and wait. Occasionally two people will crash into each other.
For fun.
And sometimes someone will drive up the hard shoulder. But largely you just sit in it and wait. That is one good thing about driving something not very common anymore. I just saw another one coming the other way, and even though the traffic's terrible, I was filled with mirth. It's in. So I've already used the classic car today to go shopping, found a market and so on. So ignore the loathsome hire car beside it. This damage here and here was the front end and the back end of a spaniel. I didn't kill it, I just maimed it. I stopped, of course. It was on the way to a mate's 30th birthday, but the Volvo survived that. The damage to the air conditioning pipes is under there, and I think that was a badger or a rock, because it's a lot worse than the spaniel print on the front. Let's have a quick look. Of course we won't, because it's locked. But you know, there's like a scratch on every corner, and fresh pipe just here. Lovely. There's a scratch on every corner and a dent on almost every other corner, but it's done it. It did 700 miles in a day. Passes the 10-yard test. And for me, someone that likes cars, there's just a hell of a lot of smugness in bringing your own car that you know inside out, you know you're not going to see that many of. I think just it strengthens your bond. And of course, if you're not vehicularly inclined, you probably think I've got some sort of brain problem, which I may well have. But if you treat your cars a bit more like pets than cars, I can heartily recommend getting a cheap snot sort of semi-classic and just gunning the piss out of it across the continent. If you take a classic car to France, it's great. The turning circle on a Volvo 940 is amazing, which is just as well, because you need a very good turning circle to be able to park in France, because the standard of parking, I mean, look at that, the space is delineated there and they've gone in at like 45 degrees. So if you are going to bring a classic car on holiday, for God's sake, make sure it's got a good turning circle and decent power steering. I'm now in a larger car park, totally geometric, there's no curves or angles at all in this car park, and still it seems that the lines and spaces are just sort of vague suggestions of what someone might like to do with their car. Yeah, British parking trumps French parking, but it's a small complaint, I suppose. Just seen a Citroen C4 Cactus, which I have a strange weakness for. I don't know whether you'll be able to see, but the wheel on that thing is like deep russet red, covered in rust. They're running metal to metal on the front with brakes, and clearly that's not been cleaned since it was brand new. Nice. Mint. Found a space. That's something they don't tell you in the French textbook, actually, how hard the parking is, but I'll get a fresh battery. I'll leave my classic car in the car park with dings already. I suspect that it's more likely to get dinged here than a British car park. Quite a few of the French cars are battle scarred, but so far so good. Beach time. Just waddling around the market. There's a magnificent display of melons and sausages, if that's your thing. Look at that. So a good thing about this particular classic car is that the boot's massive, so if you want to buy 6 baguettes, or indeed 600, 19 pounds of pastry, it's entirely possible. So you could go on holiday with like 100 mates and do the pastry run and still have room for, I don't know, a roadkill deer or something if you find one. Mint.
See down here by the chain.
Have they given us a pin? Good thing is, if you bring a 940 on holiday and you find an antique shop, you can just buy antiques because you know they'll fit in or on it. Old French tat.
This one doesn't even have any arms.
Interesting.
I think that one has arms.
What a lovely holiday. So my son will be competing for jammiest boy in the universe. We went to an antique shop and I thought, well, I've been really getting some good use out of my retinas recently. I don't want to destroy them with my son's laser pen, which was always traditional to buy on a French trip. Went to look for an armoury. Apparently there is one, shooting range, whatever. It's shut, so I asked a woman to find out it was shut. I said, where's the armoury? She said, oh, it's shut. I said, oh, we're looking for a little opinel for my son. She said, oh, I've got one you can have. Brand spanking new, stainless steel opinel, much nicer than mine. And she just gave it to him. What a lovely woman. So I've got her address, I'll send her a postcard. But just incredibly fortunate. What a trip. Just got to not lose the penknife now, because that is a forever gift. So, Waze thinks that we can drive through this field of corn. So it's a good job we've got a classic car with high ground clearance. It's doing it.
Yeah,
Feels totally wrong. The Land Rover. Taking a classic car to France is actually really important because I've just come to a place that is considered touristically extravagant or touristically interesting. It's really not. So you've got to have at least something to be interested in which case it's your car. The best thing here is this crane, which I think is either broken or certainly not working today. You can see that the people that live here all own boats that they keep in this streak of rat piss that smells like a dog's anus on a beach. And we've just been past a gallery which I didn't need to go in because I could tell, and I told my sister, precisely what's in there. Just fucking pictures of boats. You can hear the masts clanging because they're all so enthusiastic about boating that even on a windy day they don't bother to use them. So don't think that coming to France is all smiles and rainbows. Sometimes it's shit, but at least you've got a classic car to fuck off in. Some absolute penetrator has turned up as a very elaborate practical joke at the Citroen dealership in that, like he's going to buy any parts. It's never been washed. Sweet. I'm here in Cos. C-O-Z-E-S. What did you say, sis?
Mine gets sold every Wednesday. Divided in 3 parts.
It is Wednesday and there's no fucker here. It's big. This is where I'd bring my fish to sell it if I had one. Or I suppose your daughter to get a husband if it was 1602. Local penetrator, here he comes. It might sound incredibly dull to say I'm sat here on a billiard table, smooth, straight road, doing probably 20 mile an hour. It might sound boring, but it's such a novelty to have more than 5 yards of smooth tarmac beneath you. It just feels fucking great. And of course, burns some calories and leaves room for a biscuit fest later, and booze and meat and bread and butter, and eating in France is sweet. I'm sweating my nuts off because I've just cycled here and I cleave through the air like a chest of drawers. But I've got to a local market and I've got 3 wild boar sausages, the French for which is sanglier, and sang in French is blood, so I wonder whether it's from the French blood, i.e. where you stab your wild boar with a spear and then it's pissing out blood and you track it down, because that's where the word bloodhound comes from in English, a hound for tracing trails of blood. I just looked up the French for bloodhound and it's limier. The only word for which I know similar is limace, which is slug, so I don't know whether it comes from basically bleeding pig that you chase with hounds, but certainly the word bloodhound in English is quite good. And the only reason I got 3 wild boar sausages is that I fed my son some earlier in the week and he bloody loves it. He's been on about it all week, so I'm glad I found some. Anyway, time to go into the headwind this time and cleave through the air like a chest of drawers again. Nice. There was me thinking the monster in our bathroom's getting quite big. This wasn't expressly in the French textbook, but we out here.
Their models have shrunken heads, they might.
This is like an adult entertainment website. Just watched a bloke eviscerate several fish for dinner. He was very deft with a very sharp knife. But the bonus of choosing to use this particular classic car is that the Volvo 940 came with optionable winter mats, and winter mats are basically just plastic catch trays, so as the enormous sea beast that we've had gutted for dinner drips in the back, it's only dripping into a waterproof tray that I can wash out later. Woof. It's raining sideways, I didn't bring a coat, and we're doing this again. Just jam the fuel cap in a handle to make it fill up. We're doing about 23 miles to the gallon, which is pants really, but I have got a heavy right foot because you can go a lot faster when there's no traffic, which there also is, so that explains why the fuel economy is poor. But we don't drive in France every day and it's a treat, so why not? I think there's a happy combination of not sitting in so much traffic and not absolutely squealing the nuts off the poor thing. It seems to be back in the normal sort of high 20s, early 30s MPG, which is great. A couple of things have utterly boiled my piss at this petrol station. Services, whatever. M&Ms are €5. There was a remix of Dido's whatever, the terrible listless song. It was just sped up, it sounded awful. And you got pricks like this. I know it's an electric car and it's nothing to do with me, but it just goes to show. Trolleys are SELs, they're massive here. Just 1,800 miles in a week. I used a bit of water, which is annoying. But apart from that, and apart from not being very good at getting over 100 miles an hour on the Autobahn, of course, it's done it. Oh. So in summary, if you've got a romanticised idea about holidays that were promised in French textbooks, like me, and you like shite old cars, perhaps Volvos like me, perhaps you'd like to do that sort of holiday, and the internet's good for finding those videos and those sorts of people coming together. If you didn't like it, then joke's on you because you watched to the end. Anyway, motorbike content will resume soon, but I've been on a summer holiday being a dad and stuff, and there's an exciting announcement coming. Brace.